All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you all for joining us on our virtual Torero Trek. We're really excited to be here with SBP today. So how this is going to work, just to give a little bit of instructions before I let Andrew kick us off, we are going to be recording this first section. So just keep in mind that if you do have your video on, your face will show up in that recording. If you don't have your video on, it won't show up, so just keep that in mind. Once Andrew's done talking, we're going to have Dr. Dong present some of his research, and that will not be recorded. So just so you know, for kind of the structure of this presentation, there will be time for questions after each presenter. So definitely be typing in your questions. What we'll do is we'll hold the questions until after Andrew's done talking. And there's a couple ways that you can ask your questions, and I will type this out so it'll be written instructions as well. But you can either type in question if you want us to unmute you so you can verbally say your question, or you can type your whole question into the chat box, and either Kelsey or I will read that to the presenter. If you do have any questions throughout, feel free to message me or Kelsey, because we can kind of help on the tech end if you have any questions about Zoom or about how this trek is going. With that all being said, we're really grateful for you both to be here today, and I'm excited for you to share a little bit more about SBP and some of the work that you all do. So take it away.
Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Kelsey, for setting this up. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So what we'll do today is talk briefly about mainly our graduate school and the institute, Sanford Burnham Prebys Medical Discovery Institute. We call it SBP for probably obvious reasons. And really, we want to tell you about why, what's so innovative about our PhD program and the success that we've seen. And we see that success in our students. So what I'll do first is show you a little bit of the data from our students and what they've achieved, showing that really shows the impact of the way we've designed our program. So students in our program will typically publish impactful research. And so from their graduate work, our students average a total number of publications of 3.7 with an average impact factor of 9.9. And then 2 of those papers are usually first author publications, where the average impact factor of those is 9.7. And just for your reference, if you're not all familiar with impact factor, it's actually a way to kind of rate publications, scientific publications, to determine how well regarded they are in the scientific field. And so according to the journal citation reports that determines these impact factors, the top 2% of journals have impact factor of 10 or above, and top 5% are impact factor of 6 or above. So, you know, our students are publishing near that top 2% of journals on average. Our students also learn to effectively present their research. They're very often selected to give oral and poster presentations at local and national conferences. And particularly at the Southern California Graduate Research Symposium, our students have won awards 3 years in a row. In 2017 and 18, they were awarded Best Talk. In 2019, one of our students won a second place poster award. And this bottom row of pictures are actually some of our students presenting at local conferences like the Society for Neuroscience, and either poster presentations or oral podium presentations. Our students also are able to launch successful PhD careers in less time. And so this pie chart at the left is showing where our PhD alumni are currently. About a third of them go into academic postdocs, just additional training after receiving their PhD, working in an academic lab, a university or an institute such as ours. Another third goes into industry, either working in the biotech field or in pharma. And then some of our students have gone on to faculty positions. Some of them are in other positions, such as biostatisticians, grants funds managers, things like that. But what's notable is that they are able to complete their PhD and start these careers in less time. So the national average for a PhD is about 6.5 years. Our students are averaging a time of 4.7 years to get their PhD. So you can see that our students go into a variety of careers, even in our most recent cohort. So Clyde Campbell, PhD student in Dr. Dong's lab. You'll be hearing from Dr. Dong about his research a little later today. He's gone on to be an adjunct assistant professor at Iowa State. We have some students that are, for example, application scientists in biotech, doing business development, and also academic postdocs such as Alex Campos at the bottom. So you can see our students go into a variety of successful careers. They have great measures of success while they're with us. And we really believe that this is due to our innovative approach to PhD training. And that really comes from how our institute was started. Sanford Burnham Prebys Medical Discovery Institute was founded in 1976 as the La Jolla Institute for Cancer Research, and that has since gone through a few name changes. And so you'll see in this picture here, that cluster of buildings across the street from the ocean, that's actually our campus. And we're in a nice tight cluster there so that we can all interact with each other. We have easy access to all the science going on campus. And the Institute was really designed to foster great collaboration between all of our labs and really to minimize administrative oversight so that the scientists could really focus on their science. And so, as I mentioned, there's a lot of spaces set up for meeting and collaboration. There's a very collaborative atmosphere, as well as state-of-the-art technology to allow scientists to do their best innovative research. And that includes a drug screening center with a library of over 1 million compounds that collaborates with a lot of the labs on campus to actually take their findings in basic and translational research and move them toward the drug discovery process to start finding small molecules to apply some of that knowledge toward disease. And so today, Sanford Burnham Prebys has 5 centers focusing on cancer research, neuroscience, infectious and inflammatory disease. We have a center focusing on children's health and rare diseases, both genetic disorders and biochemical disorders. And then we also have the Prebys Center for Drug Discovery that I just mentioned. We currently have 10 clinical trials underway, 7 FDA-approved treatments and tests. We're a total of about 720 scientists and staff, with 80% of that actually being scientists directly connected to research. We are ranked in the top 2% of research institutions worldwide based on citations per paper, so the number of times that other scientists are citing our papers as the basis for their continued research. We published last year 243 papers, peer-reviewed publications from the Institute. I think the year before that it was 362. So we're averaging almost a paper a day from the Institute. We're in the top 3 of all independent research institutes ranked by NIH funding. And so this metric of NIH funding is actually an important one. This is a very common way for especially academic research labs to acquire funding for their research through the National Institute of Health. And so we rank well in acquiring that funding. We've had over 1,000 patents issued to date, and 35 spinoff companies come from Sanford Burnham Prebys. And so, as I mentioned, SBP really fosters a collaborative and innovative atmosphere. And that served as the foundation for our design of our graduate school of biomedical sciences. And so the graduate school really, we took that innovative mindset and threw out the old model of graduate school training and designed our own method and model of graduate school, so to really help our students reach the goals for their PhD training that we think are important. And so some of the key factors that are different about our program are that we have an admit to fit model of admission. So this means that students identify their faculty mentors in advance. That's something that I work with each applicant and prospective student to help them find the research that interests them, get in contact with those faculty mentors, establish a relationship as they're applying to the program. This will means that as you come in, you wouldn't do any rotations. You would start in your thesis lab immediately. So you would have orientation with our graduate program, and as soon as that's over, you walk right into the lab and start your thesis research. We also have small class sizes. This allows us to deliver personalized attention and create an atmosphere for more interactive learning. And there's limited coursework, allowing you to spend more time in the lab doing the research that you're interested in pursuing for your PhD. And this limited coursework includes personalized tutorials from expert faculty. So we we have a collection of tutorial courses that our faculty offer. These tutorials are meant to be one-on-one with the faculty. Sometimes there might be 2 students to 1 faculty per session, but it's really designed to be an active learning process where you go to that faculty member to learn about their particular area of expertise, whether it be cell imaging or the process of endocytosis, by which cells bring nutrients and other signals and things from outside the cell into the cell. And you go through a process of first learning from the faculty what they think is most important about that area. They then will look often at what is your thesis research and try to present you with a problem that relates this topic to your thesis research. Have you go look through the literature, solve that problem yourself, and then come back in a second session and teach it to them. And this is really a great way for our students to build up their own expertise in these areas. And so this program is really designed to be one in which you cannot get lost in our program. We have about 30 students at any given time. This means that we know each and every student personally. We interact with them often, and that includes our deans. We have 5 deans covering different areas of the graduate school training, and all 5 deans know each and every student well and interact with them on a regular basis. And so that really leads to our approach. We'd like to generate and maintain a strong supportive community. You would have faculty and staff focused on your success. You'd have a network of peer support from the other students. Our students are a very supportive and welcoming group. They're one of the strongest selling points that we have for the program. It's one of the things that I first noticed was just how strong that student community is. Our students also have input into the program design and modification. So we survey our students regularly. We have meetings with our students to hear what they think is going well and what they think could be done differently in the program. And we take those recommendations seriously as we determine what changes we would like to make in the program. You'll have ample training opportunities. So our office provides a variety of workshops and events, both in career development, career exploration, preparing for interviews, as well as professional development, fellowship writing, writing manuscripts, presenting oral presentations or posters. We really try to cover as much of the different areas that you would be faced with as we can. And a lot of these talks are given by our graduate faculty. You'd also have access to one-on-one services from our office, both in reviewing your CV resume, support for your fellowship applications, as well as advising regarding meeting your graduate school requirements, as well as preparing for whatever career you choose, or even determining which career it is that you would like to pursue. And there are many opportunities for you as a student to interact with the wider SBP community. We have a group called the SBP Science Network. It's a group of students and postdocs that get together regularly for networking happy hours, for community building events. They've gone on ski trips. They've gone bowling. They organize an annual career day for you to listen to talks about preparing for a career and then actually network with professionals from the local area. And then they also organize an annual scientific symposium that brings in usually a well-known keynote speaker and gives the students great opportunities to present their research to the Institute at large. There's also scientific forums such as the seminar series given by students and postdocs at the Institute, scientific seminars, journal clubs, and local meetings for you to be able to interact with other scientists and build up your scientific knowledge and acumen in your given scientific community. In addition, we have our annual retreat. This is one of the highlights of our year for our graduate students. It's held in an offsite location in Southern California. The last few years, we've been holding it at Lake San Marcos. There's 2 student coordinators selected that select the theme and plan the retreat in collaboration with our graduate office. Each student formally presents their work, so we hear a presentation from each and every student in the program. And there also includes professional development and networking sessions. So this is, again, a place where we survey the students. We find out what professional development they're interested in. And then we either bring in an external speaker or design a workshop ourselves to deliver that content and help train the students in that area. We also find out what career areas they're interested in pursuing, and invite 4 to 5 professionals from the top 5 areas to do a speed networking session with our students on the first day of the retreat. And so that's the pictures you see at the top right. And this provides a great opportunity for our students to meet professionals in the career areas that they are interested in pursuing, and actually go on to continue having contact with those professionals after the retreat is over. And so to become a student at SBP, we have our admissions process. That starts in September 1st this year, and will go through December 7th. Our admissions requires 3 things. As I said, we're admit to fit. So that means that you would be reaching out to faculty that you're interested in to build those relationships. Our admissions committee would, need to select you as the applicant. You would also need to find a sponsoring lab that is also interested in taking you. And so this means that you maintain communication with your potential sponsoring labs. And that, again, is something that I can help. That is a process that I'm happy to help guide you through. I've added my email to the chat if you have any questions after this talk is over. If anything occurs to you later, if you want to follow up at any time, you can absolutely contact me at that email. Our students receive a stipend of $34,000 per year. You don't pay tuition or fees at all. You have access to the same employee health plan that we have. And you also receive $500 a year of a student educational fund to cover any education-related expenses that you have. That can be travel to a conference, taking a certain course that requires payment, anything like that. You would submit that to us, we try to make that happen. So just to summarize, your success as our student is truly our mission. We want to educate students to become innovative biomedical scientists of the future. We would do that by making sure that you achieve certain program learning outcomes, that you have a strong foundational knowledge of biomedical science. You have the ability to perform high quality biomedical research. You become an innovative critical thinker and able to skillfully design experiments. You are able to write clearly in many of the standard academic formats, in grant proposals, in poster presentations, and in scientific articles. And that you're also able to present well orally, present your research at a podium at a conference, any sort of meeting that you go to. And so our vision is to take advantage of the state-of-the-art technology we have, the entrepreneurial mindset, and our ability to highly personalize the program to educate the next generation of outstanding biomedical scientists and have them go forward to drive cutting-edge basic and translational research. So with that, I can take any of your questions.
So the first question that came in is, what is the most important aspect of the application that your institute focuses on to evaluate goodness of fit?
I think that's a really good question. That's really, in our application process, we de-emphasize grades, we de-emphasize GRE scores. What we're really looking for is that you find a lab whose research you are truly interested in, and that you can demonstrate that interest through your personal statement and really through your interactions with the lab. It really makes a strong case for you that you have a strong personal statement and have interacted with those labs, and that lab has a real interest in you. A lot of times that takes having research experience. That's a really important aspect of preparing for a program such as ours. And good letters of recommendation. Those are really the things that we look for in the applications.
So if I can add to that, just to reemphasize what Andrew just said, research experience is really important. So if you're interested in our graduate program and actually any biomedical graduate program in general, you're going to need laboratory experience. So the more, the better. That helps us figure out whether you really enjoy science or not. And that also will be the source of your letter recommendation, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Another question that came in is, what is the Institute's response to the ongoing COVID-19 situation, specifically regarding incoming and prospective applicants?
So the first thing we did was luckily we were able to conduct our interview day before any of this COVID-19 situation started. So we were able to have the students actually come in person before we knew any of this was happening. But the first thing we did once this all started was to make sure they knew how to reach us, make sure that they had whatever information they needed. We continued to admit to whom we'd made offers and keep in contact with them as this has been ongoing. We've done the same with our current students as well, make sure they receive weekly updates from us about what to expect, how to reach us, converting a lot of our in-person courses to online. And we've started some additional sessions for virtual get-togethers, just so that our students have those same opportunities to just get together and chat either with each other or with deans, just again, to kind of help ease the time, that we're all just stuck at home alone.
Great. Another question is, do students ever change their thesis or research midway? If so, how does SBP facilitate that?
It has happened. It is definitely not something that we recommend. I think in rare, extreme cases that can happen. But again, that's not going to be something you want to do in any PhD program. You really are there, the keystone achievement of your PhD is accumulation of a certain amount of research in a given area, and switching midway just impedes that progress altogether. Whenever a change is necessary, though, we do have a dean of student affairs and an executive committee that meets to discuss these issues and figure out the best way to meet the students' needs while still making sure that they're meeting the program requirements and making the progress that they should be making toward their PhD.
Yeah, so it does happen, and as Andrew said, we have a group of deans that will step in to help facilitate your move to another lab, if possible.
You're muted, Kelsey.
Thank you. Another question that came up is there aid provided in the living process, such as finding an apartment? How much of the stipend is spent on housing?
I think how much is spent on housing just depends on the living situation that the student finds in the end. We don't have housing on campus that we can provide. We do connect you with current students to try and have them help you with recommendations for housing in the area where a lot of the students do choose to live. Some of our students have roommates, some of our students are married and then don't have other roommates. Some of our students choose to live alone. And so depending on your preferences there, that's just going to determine, you know, how much of your stipend you're spending.
So the stipend that we provide is basically the same as comparable institutions in the area.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be different. Our healthcare, some of our students consider our healthcare to be better than UCSD. That's based on just talking to students that I know. And so, yeah, but the great thing is our institute does not charge for tuition. So that's another great thing about going to grad school, especially at ours, is there's no cost for tuition.
Yeah, I mean, for example, when I did my PhD, I wasn't charged tuition, but I had to pay plenty of academic fees. We don't even charge our students academic fees, so everything from your stipend stays with you for you to spend as you need.
Here, I can read this question. So it says, during COVID-19, when in the lab research might be limited, is there courses or skills you recommend students work on this summer?
So I can answer that, Andrew.
Sure.
So yeah, so the students are continued, well, the graduate program continues to be in contact with the students during this process. And what we have encouraged is for students to, with their lab, continue with their online lab meetings, online journal clubs. Many students may have data already that they can start putting together into papers. And of course, you can still read scientific journals. So there are still plenty of things that can be done at home still. But the Institute itself is working to get things going again. We're hoping to get things rolling again within the next month, but it's going to be dependent on the state policies.
And what about prospective students, so current undergraduate students who are looking into SBP, you know, as a possibility, and they aren't able to, potentially they may not be able to have as many opportunities to perform research during the summer?
I would recommend you can still reach out to labs, right? Because reaching out, the whole process of reaching out and getting a position in the lab, whether it's, you know, paid or unpaid internship, will still take time. That will help you figure out what you're interested in. You can learn more about the science in the lab if you get in contact with those labs. They can also recommend papers that you can read. So there are things definitely you can do before you even get into lab. But I would take the advantage of the time to reach out to people now that there's more free time for you to spend on the computer.
What are the names of some of the most commonly used lab techniques in your lab?
So I'll go over some of that when I give my talk. I'll talk for about half an hour on what my lab works on, and I'll go through some of those things.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is there any last minute questions related to the application process? Okay. Well, you'll send out Andrew's email and follow up as well. So if you do have any questions pop up after the info session, you can email him. But I think we're going to switch to Dr. Dong's presentation now. So Dr. Dong is doing some research, and he's here to present to you about that today. So I'm going to let him take it, and then we'll do questions at the end as well, so you can keep fielding questions as he talks.